Okay, so the first stitch we're going to look at is a basting stitch. So a basting stitch is a long and loose running stitch, and it's used to lightly tack pieces in place. So if you're putting two pieces of fabric together so you want to tack them in place to keep them secure. So you might start by pinning them just to make sure that you have them lined up exactly the way you want. So you could just pin these in place. The idea being that you're going to either machine sew or hand sew it in place eventually. So you can pin it to hold it like this in place, and then you baste it or tack it. So it's also used to mark a stitching line on both sides of the fabric. And the idea is that after the garment's complete, it's removed. It's really sewing long, easily removed stitches. It's also called tacking. And as I said, they're temporary, so we're going to do them. For basting, I often use a double thickness of thread. So I've threaded my needle, double thickness, and I'm going to knot it on the end. And how I knot my thread is that I hold my needle like this. So I hold the shaft of the needle between my finger and my thumb with the eye to my right or behind me. And then I put my thread on the end of it. I grasp it between the finger and the thumb, and I twirl it maybe 3 times around the shaft of the needle. Not too tight, because what you want to do is you want to slip it off the end, and the needle gets a little bit thicker where the head and the eye are, but you just pull it through to the end, so the 3 wrapped pieces, and there is your knot on the end. Okay, so that's how we start with our knot. Another tip for basting is to use a contrasting thread to your fabric, so it's very easy to see and can be easily removed. So it's very simple. You can bring your knot through the back, and then you take big, loose running stitches. And you pull them out like that. You don't need to be super accurate with this. You know, it's not a permanent stitch, but you find that you'll begin to develop a rhythm and a habit over time. This happens with all stitching. And the other clue is here is like there are very fine sort of ridges in this fabric that I'm testing out on, and you can use that also as a guide. With the other stitches, we'll use a chalk line to guide us. It's not important in this case, but sometimes the fabric offers great help along the way. If your thread gets stuck there, you just loosen it. Okay, so we've basted right around there. Just make sure that there's no tension in your fabric. And then we're going to come to the end. Just to finish off the tack, you can just pull it through here. If you want it to be secure, like if it's on a model or something, you don't want it to come apart entirely, but you do want it to be easy to take apart. So then you just snip that there. You can remove your pins. and that's your baste. And you can see it's very loose there, but it's held everything together kind of perfectly. Okay, that's our very first stitch. The next stitch that we're going to look at is the running stitch. And basically we just showed it there with the basting stitch. So the running stitch is a basic, your very basic, it's your simplest stitch. It's an in and out stitch. It's my favorite stitch of all stitches. I use it a lot. You see it in all sorts of embroidery work, actually. It's often seen in quilting. In the Japanese culture, it's the basis of shashiko. In Indian culture, it's kanta. Changing the length of the stitch makes a difference to how it looks, and the spacing between the stitches. So we'll start off here again. I'm going to knot my needle just as I did before, and then pull it off the end. And there you can see your knot. This time, because I want a nice straight line, I'm going to mark it out. So here I'm lining up my fabric on the mat and also with the rule. So I just like a nice straight line. So I'm going to take my tailor's chalk and just lightly put a line there, just enough so I can see it. Okay, I'm doing this through 2 thicknesses of fabric again. So if I wanted to join pieces, so working from right to left, bring your needle up. Okay. And in and out of the fabric at regular intervals. Now this isn't a very strong stitch, so it wouldn't be great for a seam, you know, where you'd be getting a lot of kind of pull on the garment. It creates this broken line. But it can be used for joining pieces where you're not going to get a whole pile of action or friction on the piece. So you just repeat that, going in and out through the fabric. And there we go. That's your running stitch.